The day I found my bank account empty, I was already drowning in grief. James had been gone for exactly 1 month, taken too soon by a heart attack at 42. The inheritance money, nearly $2 million from his life insurance and savings, was supposed to help me rebuild. Instead, I stared at my phone screen in disbelief, the balance showing zero where there should have been 7 figures. Oh, looking for something. Diana's voice dripped with satisfaction as she leaned against the doorframe of what used to be James' home office. My sister-in-law had moved in temporarily after the funeral, claiming she needed to help settle her brother's affairs. Now I understood her real motive. "What did you do?" I asked, though I already knew. Diana had always hated me, convinced I'd married her beloved brother for his money. The fact that James and I had met when I was a struggling artist and he was just starting his software company meant nothing to her. "What needed to be done?" she replied, examining her perfect manicure. "That money belongs to the Hamilton family, not some gold digger who trapped my brother with her fake bohemian act." I stood up from James's desk, my legs shaking. "That money is legally mine. James left it to me." Diana laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "Good luck proving that." The transfer was completely legal. After all, I had power of attorney while you were too busy grieving to handle the estate properly. She was right about one thing. I had been lost in grief, barely able to function in the weeks after James's death. Diana had swooped in, offering to handle the paperwork, the accounts, all the crushing details that come with losing a spouse. I trusted her because she was family, because she was all I had left of James. What a mistake that had been. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why would you do this to me?" Diana's perfectly made-up face twisted with contempt. "Because you never deserved him. Do you know how many times I told James he could do better? That he needed someone from our world, not some paintbrush-wielding nobody who couldn't even sell her art?" Her words hit like physical blows, but something else caught my attention. The small red light in the corner of the room, barely visible behind a family photo. James had installed security cameras in his office 6 months ago, after a break-in attempt. Diana didn't know about them. He kept the installation quiet, not wanting to worry anyone. I forced myself to look devastated, letting tears fill my eyes. "You're right," I whispered. "I never deserved him." Diana's smile widened, victory written across her features. "Finally, you admit it. Don't worry, I'll put the money to better use than you ever could. The Hamilton Foundation will thrive under my leadership." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and you should probably start packing. This house belongs to the Hamilton estate now. I'll be serving you with eviction papers tomorrow." As soon as she left, I moved quickly to James's computer. The camera system was state-of-the-art, recording everything to a secure cloud server that only James and I could access. My hands trembled as I logged in, praying the system was still active. It was. Not only that, but the past month's footage was all there, including Diana's systematic dismantling of my life. I watched in growing anger as she made calls, forged documents, and finally executed the transfer that emptied my account. But there was something else too, something that made my blood run cold. 2 days before his death, James had recorded a conversation with Diana in this very office. I clicked play, holding my breath. "You can't be serious." Diana's voice crackled through the speakers. "A baby? With her?" "The fertility treatments worked," James replied, his voice filled with joy I'd never get to see fulfilled. "Hannah's pregnant. We're going to have a family, Diana. I thought you'd be happy for us." "Happy? That she'll trap you forever with a child? That your money will go to her spawn instead of where it belongs?" "Enough." James's voice hardened. "I'm warning you, Diana. If anything happens to me, Hannah gets everything. I've made sure of it. And if you try to interfere..." The recording cut off there, but my hand was already on my stomach, protecting the secret I hadn't yet told anyone. The baby James would never meet. Diana hadn't just stolen my inheritance, she'd stolen my child's future. I picked up my phone with steady hands and dialed my lawyer's number. "Andrew, it's Hannah Hamilton. I need you to come over right away and bring someone who specializes in criminal law. I have evidence of fraud, theft, and possibly something much worse." Diana thought she'd won. She thought she'd taken everything from me, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. James had always been smarter than her, always one step ahead. And now, I had proof of everything. Within hours of discovering the video evidence, my living room had become a war room. Andrew Chen, my lawyer, sat reviewing the footage while Maria Santos, a criminal attorney he'd brought with her, took detailed notes. "This is beyond fraud," Maria said, looking up from her laptop. The timing of James's death, combined with Diana's actions immediately afterward, it raises serious questions. I felt sick. You think she might have? We can't make accusations without proof, Andrew cut in quickly, but we can use what we have. The footage shows clear evidence of fraud, forgery, and theft. That's enough to get the police involved. But I had other plans forming. Not yet, I said quietly. I want to give her enough rope to hang herself first. The next morning, Diana arrived with an eviction notice, just as she threatened. I accepted it meekly, playing the part of the defeated widow. "I'll need a few days to pack," I said, letting my voice shake. "And there's something else you should know." Diana raised an eyebrow, impatient. "I'm pregnant," I whispered. "It's James's baby." The color drained from her face. For a moment, her mask slipped, revealing something dark and dangerous beneath. "You're lying." I pulled out a sonogram, the one I'd been saving to show James before he died. "I have proof." Diana snatched the paper from my hands, her perfectly manicured nails crumpling the edges. "This changes nothing," she snapped, but I could see the panic in her eyes. "You'll never prove it's his." "DNA testing exists," I reminded her softly, "and James's child would be entitled to his estate, wouldn't they?" She left in a hurry after that, but I knew what would happen next. The cameras were still rolling in the office, and sure enough, Diana returned that night when she thought I was sleeping. I watched through the live feed as she tore through James's desk, searching frantically for something. When she found his private journal, her hands shook as she read the last entry, the one where he'd written about our successful fertility treatment. The next day, she called a meeting with the family lawyer, Gregory Phillips. I had cameras installed in the living room by then, courtesy of Andrew's connections. "We need to move faster," Diana told Gregory, pacing the room. "That bitch is pregnant. If she has James's baby, we lose everything." Gregory looked uncomfortable. "Diana, if there's a legitimate heir." "There won't be," she cut in. "I need you to draft papers renouncing her claim to the estate. Use whatever pressure necessary. Threaten her, tell her we'll contest paternity, anything. Just get her to sign. And if she refuses?" Diana's smile was chilling. "Then we'll handle it the same way we handled James." The lawyer went pale. "What are you saying?" "Nothing you need to worry about," Diana replied smoothly. "Just get those papers ready." That evening, I received a visit from Detective Sarah Chen. No relation to Andrew, but equally determined to see justice done. "We've been investigating your husband's death," she said quietly. "The autopsy showed irregularities we couldn't explain. Now, with this new evidence," I handed her a USB drive containing all the footage. "There's more," I said. "Diana's been making calls from James' office. Last night, she contacted someone about taking care of a problem. I have it all recorded." Detective Chen's eyes narrowed. "You've been gathering evidence." "I learned from the best," I replied, touching the photo of James on my desk. "My husband always said to be prepared." The next week passed in a blur of activity. Diana grew increasingly agitated as her attempts to force me out failed. The family lawyer, Gregory Phillips, suddenly disappeared after my lawyers contacted him about being a witness. Then came the morning I'd been waiting for. Diana stormed into the house, waving papers. "Sign these," she demanded. "Sign them, and I'll let you walk away with enough to start over." I took the papers with trembling hands, real trembling this time, because this was it. "What exactly am I signing?" "Just a formal renunciation of all claims to the Hamilton estate," she said smoothly, "for you and any potential heirs." I looked up at her, letting her see the fear she expected. "And if I don't?" She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Then you might have an unfortunate accident, like James did when he wouldn't listen to reason." The confession was clear as day, captured by multiple cameras and the wire I was wearing. Within seconds, the house was swarming with police officers. Diana fought, of course. She screamed about setups and frame-ups as they led her away in handcuffs. But the evidence was overwhelming. The cameras had caught everything: the theft, the fraud, and finally, the confession to my husband's murder. Gregory Phillips turned state's evidence, revealing how Diana had slowly poisoned James over weeks, making it look like heart failure. She planned everything, down to being there to help me with the estate. In the end, justice was swift. Diana went to prison for murder and fraud. The money was returned to me and my unborn child. The Hamilton family, shocked by Diana's actions, embraced me fully at last. 6 months later, I gave birth to James Jr. He has his father's eyes and, according to the doctors, his father's strong heart. The security cameras still run in the house, though I don't really need them anymore. But sometimes, late at night, I sit in James' office and watch old footage. The times before everything went wrong, when he would work late and talk to himself about his dreams for our future. "I've made sure you'll be safe," he says in one recording, touching a photo of us on his desk. "Both of you." And he had. Even in death, James had protected us, his hidden cameras revealing the truth that Diana thought she had buried forever. She thought she could steal my inheritance, my home, my child's future. Instead, she lost everything: her freedom, her reputation, and the brother she claimed to love so much. Sometimes, justice comes not in grand gestures, but in quiet moments captured by a silent witness, waiting for the right time to reveal the truth.